SUI is one of the most bullish ecosystems out there. This blockchain just broke the TVL barrier of $1 billion. For the past month, their TVL went over 48%. That's only with just 40 protocols listed. And if you're looking for opportunities to yield farm on SUI, that's what we will be covering on today's video. Welcome back on the channel, guys. In our efforts to cover the whole DeFi space, we are going to explore the SUI ecosystem on today's video. We'll take a look at their protocol rankings, see what's trending, what is generating the most volume, because as you may know, with volume comes fees, and yield farmers do need those juicy fees. After all, we are yield farming on DeFi for a reason. We want that passive income, so the juicier the yields, the better. So let's take a look at some of the best options right now on the SUI ecosystem. And looking at the TVL here on SUI, right now we are at an all-time high. For the past couple of months, we have been seeing the TVL just ramping up. We saw this dip back in August, but from there on, the TVL only saw one way, and that was going up. NAVI is the protocol with the highest TVL on SUI. They have roughly 1/3 of the total TVL of the blockchain. And not only users can borrow and lend top assets with the NAVI family ecosystem, they have NAVI lending for that, but they also offer liquid staking options with VOLO LST, the go-to liquidity platform for dedicated native liquid staking on SUI. On the NAVI protocol dApp, we can see the total supply, also the total amount of liquidity being borrowed at the moment, and an overview of the markets. Currently, there are ongoing incentives to deploy liquidity. You can see, for example, the supply APY here for the SUI Vault would be almost 1%, 0.88, but with the current incentives, it's sitting at 4.531%. So the Vault APR is what we just saw, 0.88, and then the boosted APR is 3.5%. The total will be 4.5, and the reward token for this Vault is VSUI. When it comes to borrow incentives, there are a couple of vaults here that are very interesting. For example, SUI USDT, they are having currently borrow incentives of around 3%. So you're getting paid to borrow from these vaults. But not only that, there's a couple more of stablecoin vaults like USDC and Wormhole USDC that are also paying handsome incentives for people to borrow from their vaults. Overall, this Wormhole vault is being highly incentivized. You can see that the supply APY here is also very interesting, touching almost at 10% total APY. And again, the reward token here will be VSUI. Looking at blue chips, there's also Wrap Bitcoin here with a rather low APY, but it's still available. And there's also Ethereum, the SUI Bridge version, with 7.2% APY for the supply vault. Now let's take a look at VOLO, the leading liquid staking option for SUI. And by the way, guys, if you have any questions, let me know down in the comment section. And if you enjoy this type of content, of course, like and subscribe. And the interesting thing about liquid staking protocols is that they give you an option to start earning yield on your staking. So for example, you can stake SUI with VOLO. You get in return VSUI, which you can still use in many DeFi protocols on the SUI ecosystem. One example is NAVI. We just saw they are incentivizing borrowing and lending by offering users VSUI. And actually VSUI is what you get when you stake SUI with the VOLO ecosystem. So currently, if you do that, you start generating yield, and then you can take your VSUI tokens and, for example, use them on NAVI as collateral for borrowing and lending, like we just saw. Turbos Finance is a DEX that also allows you to use the VSUI token, and there will be others. For example, CETUS here also allows you to do that. Wisp Swap is another example of a DEX that allows you to use the VSUI token. And there's many other protocols, as you can see, that VOLO has integrated. So there's a lot of options for people to use their liquid staking tokens. And that's the main appeal of liquid staking. It keeps your assets liquid while you are already earning a yield passively from depositing into liquid staking platforms, in the case VOLO. If you're wondering if VOLO charges any fees, in the FAQs you can see they do not. The only fees that will happen are dependent on the staking validator where the SUI is staked, but that is already accounted for in the calculated APY they do display on their dashboard. Okay, as DeFi users, we just saw what NAVI can offer. It's going to be more on the passive end. You don't need to do any active management, none of that from your side. So now let's move on to CETUS, which is an DEX, an automated market maker. We'll find opportunities to yield farm there with liquidity pools. They have a current TVL of almost $220 million, and for the past month, the TVL saw an increase of over 86%. They're doing a lot of volume. For the past 24 hours, they just crossed the $100 million barrier in volume, and that generated in fees almost $200,000. So things are ramping up for CETUS. Let's see more in detail. The TVL chart shows us the same trend that we just saw for SUI. Around August, there was a dip and then it ramped up. No corrections, it went straight up the TVL, and right now we're sitting at an all-time high. If we turn on the volume here, we see there's definitely also a spike in volume. So definitely yield farming with these liquidity pools will be highly profitable. Now CETUS is a DEX like we mentioned, and they are audited by two different companies, OtterSec and MoveBit. Looking at backers, a few pop out like OKX Ventures, KuCoin, Gate. They were already backing NAVI, but we see the names repeating again here on CETUS. That already gives us an indication of strong support for the overall SUI ecosystem. At least these more high TVL type of protocols, they are backed by big players in the crypto space. Also important note about CETUS is that they currently are incentivizing liquidity. So if you want to be a liquidity provider for some of their pools, they are being incentivized with both the CETUS token and also SUI or some sort of SUI derivative, as we will take a look in a second. So these are some of the pools available on CETUS, and they are sorted by total volume. So from left to right, you'll have the highest volume to the lowest. So these are currently the top 4 trading pairs. SUI paired with Wormhole USDC, it's currently having a 135% APR. Really high fee tier, the liquidity is deep, the volume is higher than liquidity, so it's generating a lot of fees. For the past 24 hours, this pair generated over $55,000 in fees. Also being incentivized whenever you will see this pickaxe icon associated with a pair, it means that that pair is being incentivized. So liquidity providers will get, in this case, rewards in the shape of CETUS and SUI tokens. Then we have the DEEP token paired with SUI. DEEP is also a very important piece on the SUI ecosystem. It is the native token for DEEP book, which is a fully on-chain central limit order book. So this allows professional traders to have access to deeper liquidity and efficient trading with minimal slippage. So this is definitely a pair that will provide you exposure to the SUI ecosystem. Then we have Hippo and SUI. Hippo is a meme coin. They're doing really well for the past days, and they're closing the top 3 pairs when it comes to trading volume. Then we have a stablecoin pair, Wormhole USDC and USDC. Usually stablecoin pairs will have lower APRs, and that's the case. Then we start to get into other pairs. Again, we have SUI paired with the stablecoin USDC, another stablecoin pair. And if you want to have also exposure to CETUS being the leading DEX right now on SUI, and also having very strong backers as we saw already, this would probably be a pair that interests you. CETUS paired with SUI, currently 50% APR. The volume is not that high compared with the liquidity. Optimally, I would like to see the volume to be on a 1-to-1 ratio when it comes to volume to TVL or liquidity ratio. And they also have rewards in CETUS, so you'll get more CETUS if you are bullish on these DEX and overall on the SUI ecosystem. This will be some very interesting pool to yield farm on. We also have some Ethereum paired with a stablecoin. If you want to have exposure to Ethereum on SUI, here's a chance. Another option here to provide liquidity to an Ethereum pool, Ethereum paired with USDC, triple digits APR, over 100% APR. Although the liquidity here is not as deep as compared with the other pair we just looked at, but the volume on this one is higher. So you can see the volume here is almost on a 1-to-1 ratio, while on the other pair it's roughly half of the current TVL. So this pool seems to be performing better, and the rewards are also paid fully in SUI. Let's sort things out by APR, looking for more degen options. Actually, the first one on the list, it's not all that much degen. It's deep and SUI like we already saw. But with this type of APR, I predict the liquidity to go to the multi-million level in a matter of days, and it will keep on rising most likely. So this is a high-performing pool, solid assets in it, and that makes for it to be one of the hottest opportunities right now on SUI to yield farm. Then we have another SUIMAN pool paired with SUI, and SUIMAN is a meme coin. This specific pool has a 1% fee tier. The liquidity is not all that much deep, is $120,000, a little bit above that. But the volume is higher than the liquidity, so it's definitely performing really well, especially looking at the 1% fee tier. That makes this pool stand out when it comes to generating fees. And then, of course, there's the rewards paid in the CETUS token. On top of the pools, there are other earning ways here with CETUS. One of them is farms and other are vaults. The main difference is that farms will not be automated, while vaults are. So you can stake your liquidity pool tokens here for all of these 3 farms currently. So you need to provide liquidity to any of these pairs or all of them. Then you can come here on the farm section, lock your tokens, and as long as you keep your tokens locked here, you'll generate the rewards. Currently the APR which is the highest is for the HA-SUI paired with SUI token. The APR breakdown shows us that there's a tiny amount being generated in fees, and the bulk majority of the farming rewards are coming from the incentives. And this is another way you can earn yield, especially if you are looking to increase your SUI holdings. This is one of the ways that CETUS allows you. Another way to generate even more yield is by using the CETUS vaults, and the main difference, like we just touched, is that here your position will be automated, so whatever rewards you get, it will be automatically added on into your position. So they are compounding the rewards you get, and it depends which pair you are more interested on, because the same tokens you lock here on the vaults, they will pay you in rewards. And the APYs currently here are higher than what the farms are offering. But remember, in order for you to lock your tokens, be it with the vaults or with the farms, you still need to provide initially liquidity to these same pools. But they are all correlated pools. All of these are derivatives of SUI paired with SUI. So overall, you will not experience impermanent loss at the same time that you're getting incentives on top of the fees provided by the pairs. There's also the opportunity to lock in your native CETUS tokens here, and in return you get xCETUS. I won't go in full detail on how this works, but the main takeaway from here is that once you lock your CETUS, you get xCETUS. That already gives you some APR, so you get xCETUS staking rewards. And you can redeem back to CETUS, but this involves the vesting period. And this is definitely an option for users who are bullish on CETUS, the main DEX for SUI right now. Then the last protocol I will cover on this video is the number 7th ranking here, ALPHAFI. It's a yield aggregator. It will give you options to optimize yield by using NAVI or CETUS as a base layer. So what they're doing, being a yield aggregator, is that they're taking advantage of already existing pools on CETUS and NAVI. Then they apply their own strategies to optimize everything for you. So if you're looking for an option to make your yield more passive, ALPHAFI is definitely worth to take a look at. So there's 3 main ways you can provide liquidity and earn rewards with ALPHAFI. One, it's going to be through their vaults, then the single token strategies, and lastly, liquidity pool strategies. As you can see, liquidity pools all operate for the CETUS protocol, so they're using the ones that are being provided by CETUS, and also here on the alpha vaults, mainly we also see vaults that are based on the CETUS protocol. Notice also that there's going to be APY on this one, and that's because they automate your positions, and APY accounts for compounding, so that's why we always see APY here. There are definitely some very interesting options here under the liquidity pool strategies. The one that straight ahead pops out is SUI paired USDC with an APY of almost 850%. So then here on the single token strategies, there's the SUI vault, which is being boosted currently with an APY of 25% with no risk of impermanent loss. You can expect 25% increase on your initial staking after a whole year if conditions do remain the same. Potentially with more deposits, the TVL will increase and that will dilute the APY. But for example, if you choose to stake SUI with liquid staking options and then you get VSUI in return, you can also come here and lock in that VSUI to get a 7% APY. Alpha vaults are the pairs that do involve the ALPHAFI native token. And right now we might not see all that much protocols involved, and there's plenty of options already, but usually if you're used to DeFi, this is still a glimpse what it can be in the future. As SUI grows, the ecosystem grows, there will definitely be more protocols to be listed here. So potentially this is a very early play here with ALPHAFI, the main yield aggregator on SUI. There's definitely other very interesting options like SUI Land, Scale-Up, or even out of the top 10 turbos is a DEX that has been having quite high APRs. And also we have Deepbook, which we already touched upon, the token that was available to yield farm back on CETUS AMM. But this shows that SUI ecosystem is still growing, is still getting established. It's still very early, I think, to get in on board with these opportunities. But these are some of the basic protocols you can use on SUI to start generating passive income to yield farm on. So let me know if you have any questions down in the comment section. If you have any suggestions, they are also very much welcomed. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.